Hi, my name is Bella, I am 27 years old, and I am a programmer accustomed to solitude and self-sufficiency, developed over years of internal isolation, like armor that you put on in the morning before opening your laptop and immersing yourself in code, in algorithms, in logical problems that, unlike people, always have a clear solution, unless you interfere with them with your emotions. Right now, I am standing in my almost empty apartment, the sound of my footsteps echoing off the bare walls, and I am looking at the last few boxes, piles of suppressed memories and scraps of life that I have left to pack before I finally close this door behind me. Tomorrow I'm moving. Not just moving to California, and honestly, I can't wait to finally leave all of this behind. As if every single thing I leave here is like some invisible thread tying me to the past, to this city, to people who, if I'm being completely honest, didn't care. Bella, where do you want me to put these books? Sarah, my best friend, the only person who was there not because she had to but because she wanted to, comes out of the bedroom, struggling to hold onto a box that was clearly heavier than she could handle. But Sarah was always stubborn. Just leave it by the door, I say, smiling a little tightly, watching as she sets the box down on the floor with relief. I'm going to sell most of them anyway, I'll just keep the ones I read over and over again. And before we continue, write in the comments what city you are watching this video from. Enjoy. I reach for the tape and seal another box, moving methodically, almost mechanically, because there is something soothing in this movement, as if each turn of the tape is my way of letting go of another piece of life here. Thank you for helping me with all this, I say, trying to keep my voice from shaking. No problem, Sarah answers, sitting down on my old couch, the same one that I decided not to take because it held too many other people's conversations and too few of mine. I still can't believe that you're really leaving. Leaving, I confirm. And in this word there is determination, fatigue, hope, and a little fear that I carefully hide. Are you sure you don't want to tell your parents? Sarah looks at me with the same expression I've seen hundreds of times. A mixture of concern, surprise, and an attempt to understand how it's possible to live like this without telling my family. I laugh, but it's not a happy laugh, more of a hard, almost metallic one. Sarah, they don't even know where I live now. Why would I tell them I'm moving to another state? Leon, my other friend, comes back into the room with a plate of what used to be pizza but now looks like a dry dinner from the last night before we ran away. So remind me again how your family doesn't know about this? He asks, not judging, just trying once again to understand something he'll never be able to feel. I sit down on the floor where the table used to be and cross my legs, because most of the furniture has already left with the movers, because they never cared about my life. I say, without mincing words, without mincing the truth. And I'm not saying that to be dramatic, I really do. You see, when I was a kid, everything always revolved around my brother David. His name sounds like some mythical hero, only not to me. He's 2 years older than me, and from day one he was the golden child. When I was 8 and he was 10, I won the science fair at school. You know what my parents did? I look at them both, as if challenging their notions of family. They said, "That's great, honey," I say, parodying their neutral tone. And then spent the entire dinner talking about David's football game. And when I was 12 and making the honor roll every semester, my parents hardly noticed. But when David made the university football team, they threw him a party with cake, balloons, and a bunch of guests. Leon shakes his head. And I see anger mixed with helplessness in his eyes. This is complete bullshit. When we became teenagers, I continue, feeling everything I'd been pushing aside for years rise up in my chest. It only got worse. David wanted to go to this expensive private college and my parents were thrilled about it. They said they were proud of him, that it was an investment in his future. And then when I turned 18, they sat me down in the kitchen next to a wilting plant and told me I had to apply on my own. The money was gone. It had all gone toward David's education. Wait, what? Sarah looks like she's been slapped. Did they seriously say that? Yeah, I say, not without bitterness, so I got in on my own, got a full scholarship to major in computer science. I was really good at it. I moved into a dorm, worked part-time to pay for everything else, and I barely had any contact with my family after that. I wasn't invited home for the holidays anymore, they just text me once a year. Happy birthday, and that's it. I get up to tape up another box, as if I wanted to block out the pain that rises like invisible shadows from my memory. After I graduated, nothing changed. I got a job at a software company, worked from home, saved up for my own place, and all this time my mother wrote on Facebook how proud she was of David a few years ago. Photos from his promotion party last month, photos from his engagement party. They didn't invite you to his engagement party? Leon asks, and his voice sounds more pained than questioning. No, I say, shrugging. But I'm not surprised. I realized a long time ago that I'm not really part of their family. David is their son, and I'm just someone with whom they share DNA. Sarah stands up, comes over to me and hugs me. The hug is warm. Real, not like the ones I remember from childhood. I'm sorry, Bella, this really sucks. It's okay. I say, surprisingly calm. I'm over it now, and that's actually why I'm so excited about this move. I got an amazing offer from a tech company in California. The salary is almost twice what I'm paying now, and the project seems incredibly interesting, like a fresh start. This is amazing, Leon says, and his smile is real. You deserve it. I look at him with a small smile, feeling a strange warmth spreading inside me, not even from the words, but from the fact that someone said them out loud, like an acknowledgement of achievements that no one in my family ever noticed, although I always craved at least a short, sincere good job. Thank you, and the best part is, I didn't have to ask my parents for help or tell them about it. I say, putting the empty box aside. I did it all myself. I found a job, negotiated a salary, found an apartment in California, organized the move. I did it all from start to finish alone without relying on anyone but myself. Sarah grins, her eyes sparkling with genuine admiration. Look at what you've become, an independent and successful person. I'm very proud of you, Bella. And to my surprise, I don't brush these words off. I don't try to discount them as I did before, when I only praised myself in my head, and said out loud, well, it's nothing special. No, now I'm able to admit out loud. I admit I've been saving money for years, and with this new salary, I'll be able to buy my own house within a year or two. Not a luxurious mansion with a pool and columns. No, I dream of a quiet and safe place with stable internet and a little silence. That's all I really need. We finish packing the last boxes, each of which becomes a small milestone, a sign of a completed stage, and then we order pizza and eat it right on the floor, surrounded by blank walls like three teenagers who are allowed to do anything and who have not yet been crushed by the adult world. Being in an empty apartment is a strange, almost surreal feeling, as if the space has suddenly lost its history and does not belong to me anymore. As if I am no longer a part of these walls, but just a temporary guest, leaving traces of scotch tape on the parquet as a farewell. At the same time, in this empty space there is a sense of anticipation, a light current of the future, as if I am really about to begin a completely new chapter of my life, without the ink of old grievances, without other people's expectations, only with myself and my choice. So what's the plan for tomorrow? Sarah asks, looking at me over her slice of pizza. My flight is at 2 p.m. I'm taking the last few boxes with me as luggage and have already sent the rest of my things to California. I found a decent apartment online and start work on Monday. I answer, surprising myself with the calmness of my voice, as if moving across the country is just a change in schedule and not a leap into the unknown. Did you tell Grandma about the move? Leon asks, and I nod, remembering a short but warm conversation from last week. Yeah, I called her. She's the only family member who actually cared about what I do. She wished me luck and made me promise to call when I got settled. My grandmother is my father's mother, and she's always been different from the rest of my family. Quiet, observant, never one to offer unsolicited advice but always listening carefully and remembering what I said, even if it was something small, like a coding project or a small victory at a hackathon. She was the one who helped me apply for a college scholarship when my parents said I should figure it out on my own. She was the one who called to congratulate me on my first job. In fact, she's the only person in my family I still keep in touch with, not out of politeness but out of a desire to talk. That's sweet, Sarah says. I'm glad you have her. So am I. She's nearly 75, but she's still smart as hell. She can see right through my parents, but she's too polite to say anything directly, especially out loud, especially to them. She's just meaningfully silent at the right moments, and that's enough. We sit and eat pizza and talk about California, about my new job, about how much I'm going to miss them. It's really nice to be with people who are genuinely interested in my life, who are happy for my successes, who ask not out of politeness but because they genuinely care. I look at them and realize that these are my real family, the one you choose with your heart, not the one you were randomly thrown into at birth. I'm going to miss you guys so much, I say, and this time my voice is a little shaky, but I'm not ashamed of it. We'll miss you too, Sarah replies. But we'll stay in touch, and maybe we can come visit you in California. I'd love to. I'll have a guest room once I get my own place. I smile, already imagining them coming to my little house with a garden, a coffee table on the porch, and no one to remind me that I was once the second child. After they leave, I sit in my empty apartment for the last time, my knees pulled up to my chest, allowing myself a few minutes of silence, a few minutes of goodbyes. Tomorrow I fly to California to start a new life. No more family drama. No more feeling like an outsider at parties you weren't even invited to. No more watching my parents beam at David, ignoring me as if I never existed. Just me, my career, and my future. Everything will be fine. 6 months later, I'm sitting in my new apartment in California, at the big wooden table I bought at a flea market. And I have to say, life is pretty good. Working at a tech company has exceeded all my expectations. The project was challenging but incredibly exciting. The boss is a person who truly values the contribution of his team. Colleagues are smart, witty, respectful of personal boundaries, and the salary is everything that was promised and even a little more. I am saving money like crazy, as if I am building a dam for the future, so that I will never depend on anyone again. With what I earn now, I can make a down payment on a house in 6 months, and I am already looking at housing not in a noisy part of the city, but somewhere in the quiet suburbs among the trees where the morning begins with birds singing, and not with traffic jams. As long as there is good internet, I am happy. I know what I want and I go towards it calmly without rushing. My phone rings and I mechanically pick it up. An unfamiliar number. I barely respond. I've learned in recent months to ignore anything that doesn't serve my purpose, but some strange premonition makes me hit the answer button. Bella? A voice says, and it takes me a second to recognize it because I haven't heard it in so long. It's my father's voice, and he sounds annoyed, not surprised, not worried, just annoyed. I don't remember the last time he called me himself, without a reason, without pressure. You need to come home for dinner next Saturday, he says evenly, as if giving an order. No, how are you? No, I hope you're doing well. No hint of concern, just a demand. Typical. What dinner? I ask, almost certain that I don't want to go, and to be honest with myself, I don't even want to continue this conversation, because the very fact that after months of silence from my family, I suddenly hear my father's voice, and in such a tone as if nothing had happened, as if we had just missed 1 or 2 routine calls, is not just absurd, it's almost comical. David's fiancé's parents want to meet you, he says, as if he's reciting something he's learned in advance, as if a crumpled piece of paper with these words is lying in front of his eyes. They are a people with traditions, family is important to them. They found out that David has a sister and they want to meet you. It's important for David's future, I'm sure that's true. I answer evenly, trying to keep my voice from shaking from the wave of irony that I'm barely holding back. But I won't come. What do you mean when you say you won't come? The anger in his voice grows like a summer thunderstorm, predictable but still unpleasant, and I hear him holding back, because he doesn't need a conversation from me, but agreement, without conditions and doubts. Exactly what I said. I won't come to your dinner party, I say, and I feel laughter rising in me, not nervous, not hysterical, but absolutely sincere, because this whole situation is so ridiculous that it's impossible not to laugh. Why not? He asks, not as a person who really cares to understand, but as a boss who wants to know why a subordinate dared to disobey an order. You want to know why I'm not coming? I say, and I'm no longer laughing because this is the moment of truth that I've probably been saving up for since my teenage years. I'll give you 3 reasons. First, we're not a perfect family. You have a pet, David, and a stranger, me. Second, I'm not going to pretend to be part of a happy family in front of strangers just because you decided so. And third, I can't come to dinner because I moved to California 6 months ago. There's a silence on the other end of the line, so thick that I think I can hear him catching his breath, digesting what he said, as if swallowing something inedible. You moved to California and you didn't tell us, he says, and there's no pain or worry in his voice, just indignation, as if I've broken some internal family code written in their heads. Why should I tell you? I ask. You've never asked where I live before, he explodes as expected. How dare you move across the country without telling your family? What's your address? We need to know where you are. I'm still laughing because the situation is truly absurd. Dad, do you remember my old address? The one I lived at for 3 years. I ask, and the silence that follows tells me more than any words could. He doesn't answer right away, and I sigh, feeling everything fall into place. Bella, that's not the point. Actually, I interrupt calmly, that's the point. You don't remember because you never cared, you've never been interested in my life, so why should I tell you where I live or what I do now? Bella, you can't just hang up, he says sharply, but I've already hit the end button. And the phone immediately starts ringing again like it's an important business call, like it's the one who decides when to talk, not me. Dad's number, then Mom's, then David's. I don't answer, I just forward everything to voicemail. The messages start pouring in like November rain. Mom writing that family is important, that we shouldn't fight like this. David demanding, Bella, just come over for one dinner. You can move back to California right away. Dad, predictably. This is ridiculous, call me back. More calls, more messages. It's like a poorly choreographed performance in which everyone has suddenly remembered I exist and worse, is unhappy that I don't flinch when they snap their fingers. I put my phone on silent, go to the kitchen, turn on the stove and start cooking dinner, not in a hurry, not angrily, but with a sense of satisfaction that now everything is in my hands. This right to remain silent, to refuse to choose yourself is simply incredible. David needs his fiancée's parents to think that he is from a good family. And suddenly for this performance they need me to play the role of a loving sister. But where was this concern for family when I ate cheap ramen in the dorm because I could not afford anything else? The calls and messages continue for 3 days. I don't answer any of them. Some of the messages are clearly trying to make me feel guilty. Some promise reconciliation and a new stage. And some are filled with downright pressure and irritation. On the 3rd day, Grandma calls. Hi honey, how are you settling into California? She asks. And I hear in her voice the warm, genuine interest that I've gotten used to living without, but which makes my heart clench every time. Really? Well, actually, I really like it here. I answer with a slight smile, looking out the window where the sun is already setting behind the hills. I'm so glad to hear that. Listen, your parents asked me to call you. She continues, and I sigh, feeling like I already know what's coming next. Let me guess, I say. They want you to convince me to come to David's for dinner? They are, yes, she says softly. But before I say anything else, I want you to know that I'm not trying to pressure you. I know what your family situation is, and I understand why you don't want to come. Thank you, Grandma, it really means a lot to me. I say, feeling a warmth bloom inside me, not just from the words, but from the fact that someone in my family sees the real me. Your parents are upset that you moved without telling them. They didn't even know where I lived before, Grandma. How is that my fault? It's not your fault, honey, she says with weary tenderness. I've watched this family dynamic for years, and I know how they treated you. I've tried to talk to your father about it, but he won't hear it. I appreciate you trying, and really, I pause. I just want to know that I'm not crazy. You're not crazy. You're an adult, you're successful, and you have every right to live the way you want, she says with such confidence that I feel lighter, as if the heaviness in my chest has finally found a way out. After we hang up, I just sit for a while, enjoying the silence in which there is no guilt, no pressure, no demands. Saturday comes and goes, and I spend it hiking along a mountain trail near the apartment. The wind is cool, the sun is soft, and at the top I can see the ocean in the distance, shimmering between the trees. It's so beautiful there that I don't think about family problems at all, and maybe for the first time in a long time I feel truly free. On Sunday morning, Dad calls again. His voice sounds sharp, without introductions, without the usual hello or attempt to create the illusion of warmth, as if there had been no months of silence between us, no quarrels, no resentments, and most importantly, no complete lack of interest in my life. Bella, he says in the tone he uses when delivering ultimatums. We had to tell David and his future in-laws that you were sick and couldn't come to dinner. I nod automatically, though he can't see it. Okay, I say calmly, not making any excuses or making any apologies. The wedding is in a month, you need to be there. I'm not coming to the wedding either, I say, already knowing that he'll react violently. Bella, and there's tension in his voice, taut as a string. It's David's wedding, you have to come. No, I say firmly and without hesitation, I'm not coming. If you don't come to this wedding and show David's in-laws that we're a normal, loving family. His voice rises, almost shouting. I will disinherit you, I will cut you off completely. I almost dropped the phone because I was laughing so loudly, so sincerely, so uncivilly. Are you disinheriting me, Dad? I can't help but be sarcastic. I make more money than you, Mom, and David combined. I don't need your money. He falls silent. There's silence on the other end, that heavy, hollow silence that comes when a person suddenly realizes that their leverage no longer works. Is that true? He asks finally, almost haltingly. About your salary? If you've ever taken an interest in my life, I say calmly, you'd know that I work for a major tech company and make very good money. Suddenly his tone changes, becomes almost gentle, as if he hopes that a gentle voice can erase years of indifference. Bella, we've always been proud of you, we just want you to come home so we can be together as a family. I hang up without saying a word, because this is no longer a conversation. It is manipulation, belated, clumsy, and most importantly, unwanted. An hour later, David starts writing to me. His messages sound like carefully edited lines from a cheap script. How proud he is of me, how he always thought of me, and how he missed me. It's just pathetic, not touching, not exciting, pathetic, because now that they know I'm successful, they suddenly decide they need me again, as if my success is their resource, as if they can use it if only they pretend convincingly enough that they love me. I've had enough. I block their numbers, delete their contacts, delete all their correspondence, like you delete the trash folder on your desktop. Quickly, decisively, and with relief. I'm building my own life now, and I don't need their fake interest, their drama, their attempts to impose on me the role that I've long since thrown out of the script of my life. A month passes, and frankly, it's the calmest month in many years. No calls from my parents, no remorse, no expectations or demands. Just me, my work, and my life in California, filled with the rhythm that I choose myself. I search for a house online during my lunch breaks, looking through photos and descriptions, comparing neighborhoods and prices, imagining what my own space would look like. There are a few really nice places about an hour outside the city. Quiet suburbs with shady streets, manicured lawns, and good schools, although I don't have children and don't expect to have any anytime soon. But I like the idea of stability, of roots, of a quiet place where I can breathe and feel like this place is mine. The phone rings on a Sunday afternoon. I pick it up and a familiar name pops up. It's my grandmother. "Hello dear, how are you?" she asks, and I smile because her voice is like a cozy old blanket that keeps you warm no matter how far you've gone. "Very well," I say. "I've been watching online at home. I think I found a few I want to see in person." "That's wonderful, Bella," she says, and I sense that she's genuinely happy for me. "I wanted to tell you about this. I have some photos I'll send you." "Oh, okay." I laugh. "How did it go?" "It was tense," she says after a pause. "Your parents weren't happy you were gone. They kept making up excuses for why you weren't there, and it was obvious they were embarrassed." "What excuses?" I ask, settling myself more comfortably. "First they said you were still sick, then they said you had to work, then they said you were on a business trip." The bride's parents didn't seem to believe any of it. I lean back on the couch, exhaling slowly. "It must have been embarrassing." "Yes, it was," my grandmother confirms. "And David looked disappointed the whole time. He seemed to be checking his phone all the time, hoping that you would change your mind and come." "Well, that's not my problem," I say, shrugging slightly. "No, it's not yours," she agrees. "But Bella, there's something else you should know." I tense up, instinctively holding my breath. "A few days before the wedding, the bride's parents had a very unpleasant conversation with your parents." "What conversation?" "Apparently they looked into your family. They found out that your parents had been basically ignoring you for years. And that David was clearly the favorite child. They were very disappointed in that." I raised my eyebrows. "Really? Really?" "As far as I know," Grandma continues, "they told your parents that they were disappointed in the way they treated you. And they doubted that David was from the kind of family they would want to marry their daughter into." "Wow," I breathe. "That's actually quite nice." "There was a huge fight between your parents and the bride's parents about it. There was an awkward atmosphere throughout the wedding. Everyone felt the tension." "Did the bride's parents say anything to David?" "I think so. I heard from your cousin that he was asked why he never mentioned having a sister and why you weren't involved in his life." "What did he say?" "I'm not exactly sure," Grandma replies. "But it apparently didn't go very well. The bride looked upset throughout the ceremony, and even from a distance in the photographs, it was clear that her smile did not reach her eyes, and her gaze kept sliding towards the guests, as if she were looking for confirmation of her doubts." Later that day, my grandmother sent me photographs that she said would be interesting. I opened them on my laptop, leaning back in my chair, a cup of tea in my hand, and begin to slowly scroll through, examining every detail, as if reading between the lines what no one dared to say out loud. My parents, smartly dressed and well-groomed, stand by the arch with flowers, but both of their smiles are forced, as if glued on by an effort of will so as not to break. David, usually confident, looks embarrassed, his eyes darting from side to side, as if he is looking for someone, perhaps hoping that I, having suddenly changed my mind, will nevertheless appear. The bride's parents, unlike everyone else, don't try to pretend that everything is fine. Their faces are tense, their lips are pressed tightly together, their gaze is wary. "This is perfect," I say out loud in my empty but so cozy and quiet apartment, where no one dictates what I should do and who I should portray. The next morning, my grandmother calls and I pick up the phone happily, anticipating her calm voice that always sounds like it has the answers to everything. Bella, I wanted to give you an update on the family situation. She begins, and I can feel the desire to warn me and the reluctance to drag me back into something I've only just gotten rid of. What's going on now? I ask, although I already have a rough idea of what I'll hear. Well, it looks like the bride's parents are still unhappy, she says. They keep asking why you weren't at the wedding and your parents' answers aren't satisfying. Okay, I say, holding back a grin. Your parents are starting to panic, she continues. They've realized that their attitude toward you could affect David's marriage and his relationship with his new in-laws. That's their problem, not mine. I answer, and theirs. No malice in my words, just a statement of fact. I know, honey, Grandma says softly, but I think you should know that they're starting to realize that their actions have consequences. I appreciate you keeping me informed, Grandma, I really do, I say sincerely. But I don't care what happens to them, I've had enough of this drama. I understand, she says, and there's no judgment in her voice. You've built a good life for yourself and you don't need their problems. She's right, I have a stable, interesting job, an apartment where I feel safe, a savings account that grows with each passing month. I'm looking at houses in picturesque suburbs, making friends with my coworkers, hiking mountain trails on weekends, enjoying the scenery, and for the first time in a long time, I'm actually doing well. How are you coping with all this? I ask, turning my attention from myself to her. I'm doing well, honey. I've watched this family dynamic for years, and I always knew it would catch up with them eventually. I'm just sorry it took so long. You've always been good to me, Grandma, I say, feeling the warmth rise in my eyes. You're the only one who's ever cared about what I do. You're a good girl, Bella, always have been. Your parents just couldn't see it. After we hang up, I sit in silence, stroking my now cold tea, and think about her words. Part of me feels vindicated. Finally, my parents have had to face the consequences of their treatment of me. But most of all, I feel less satisfaction and more relief. I'm out of this, it's not my baggage anymore. I spend the rest of the day browsing through real estate listings, cutting out the noisy, the pompous, the inappropriate, and finally finding a house that looks almost perfect. 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, a spacious, bright yard with a wooden deck, mature trees along the perimeter of the property. And most importantly, the house is in a quiet neighborhood with excellent internet. It's about an hour's drive from my office, but since I work from home most of the time, it doesn't matter. I call the agent and set up a viewing for the following weekend. The price is well within my budget, especially with my current salary. I currently make enough to put a 20% down payment and still have a decent amount left over for furniture, landscaping, and the unexpected expenses that always come with moving. That evening, as I was preparing dinner, warm vegetable soup and fresh bread, my phone vibrated with a text from an unknown number. I almost ignored it, thinking it was probably the agent confirming an appointment. But something in my gut made me look anyway. No, it was David. Bella, I know you blocked our numbers, but I got a new phone. We need to talk. I stare at the message for a minute, almost automatically, feeling neither anger nor regret, and then I simply delete it without responding. 5 minutes later, another message comes in. My family is asking questions about you. It's affecting my marriage. I delete that message too. The next one. Please just call me back. I know we messed up. Delete. Bella, I'm sorry, we all forgive you. Can we please talk? I turn off my phone and finish making dinner, not allowing myself the slightest emotion, because I know that this is not out of a desire to make up for the past, not out of remorse, but out of fear that their actions are causing problems for their precious David. They don't regret the way they treated me all these years. They are simply unhappy that their neglect no longer works as well as it once did. I'm eating dinner on the balcony, admiring the mountains bathed in the pink light of the sunset, feeling the light evening breeze on my skin, and realizing that this is my life. Tomorrow I'll write to the realtor about this house. If all goes well, in a few months I'll be able to become a homeowner on my terms, by my choice, in my own space. It's been a year since I moved to California, and now I'm standing in the kitchen of my own house, not a temporary home, not a rental apartment, not a furnished corner of a dorm, but a real full-fledged home that belongs only to me, and in which every detail was chosen by me, in which every little thing, from the color of the walls to the shape of the door handles, reflects my tastes, my character, my path, my home. Sometimes I still stop in the middle of the room, as if hoping to wake up from a dream, because I still can't believe that I did it. 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, a spacious sun-drenched yard where the first apple and pear trees are already blooming in the spring, And what is especially important to me as a person whose life is connected to technology, the best internet in my life, I'm making myself a coffee aromatic strong just the way I like it. When the phone rings, it's my grandmother, and as always, I smile even before I press the answer button. Hi, Grandma. How are you? I'm doing well, dear. How is your new house? It's perfect. I really like it here. I have a home office and I can work from home whenever I want. I answer, sitting down at the kitchen table around which I recently arranged new chairs. The neighborhood is quiet, green, and the neighbors are very friendly. I'm so happy for you, Bella. You deserve it all. Thank you, I say, feeling the sincerity of her words warm something inside. I still can't believe I have a home at 28. I'm doing better than I ever imagined. You should be proud of yourself. You've accomplished so much on your own. I'm proud of you. She pauses briefly. Are you planning on staying here for a long time? Maybe forever? That sounds wonderful. I smile, looking out the window at the backyard, where a gentle breeze sways the branches of the young trees. I have everything I need and more. I have news about your family. If you'd like to hear it, she says carefully, as if giving me the right to say no. But I nod even if she can't see it. Sure, Grandma, I guess. Well, David's marriage isn't going well. The bride's parents never got over the fact that you weren't there. They keep bringing it up, and it's causing problems for the newlyweds. David must be really sorry. I say without much emotion. Your parents are still trying to find a way to contact you. They've asked everyone in the family if they have your new address or phone number. I hope no one gives it to them, I answer calmly. Of course not. I told everyone that you deserve privacy and that if you want to talk to your parents, you'll ask them yourself. Thank you for that, really thank you. Your father calls me every few weeks and asks me to talk you into coming home for a visit. I keep telling him it's none of my business. He says he misses you, that he wants to fix everything. But then he usually starts talking about how successful you are, how proud they are of you now. So they still don't get it. I say, closing my eyes, feeling tired just from repeating this endless topic. No, they don't, she agrees. They think it's about the money or your success. They don't understand that it's about how they've treated you your whole life. After we hang up, I walk around the house, passing my cozy living room with its soft gray sofa and a TV opposite it, which I don't even turn on that often because I like the silence and books enough. The study is neatly tidy. A laptop, a second monitor, a comfortable chair, a notepad with notes, and fresh flowers on the windowsill. The guest room is already fully furnished and waiting for Sarah and Leon, who will arrive next month. We have already made a list of places we want to go, and I increasingly feel that my real life has begun here. I think about what my grandmother told me a year ago. It might have been painful for me to hear about David's problems, about my parents' regrets. I might even have felt guilty, but now I just don't feel anything, no anger, no sadness, no hope, no desire to fix everything, just nothing. I made the right choice moving here to another state, to the other side of the country, and cutting off contact with them. My life is immeasurably better. Without their constant drama, without their demands, without their false interest in my achievements, I became myself when I stopped being their scheduled daughter. In the evening, as the sun slowly dips below the horizon, painting the sky in golden pink tones, I take dinner out to the back porch, make mint tea, and sit in a wicker chair. Wrapped in a warm blanket, everything is calm, everything is truly mine. And then the phone vibrates on the table, a new message from an unknown number. Bella, it's Mom. I have a new phone number. Please call me, we need to talk. I stare at the screen for a minute, maybe even two, feeling the memories want to burst out, but I don't let them take over. I just delete the message. 2 hours later, another. Bella, I know you've been getting these messages. Your father and I know we've made mistakes. We want to make things right. Delete. The next one comes almost immediately. We now know you've succeeded and we're proud of you. We should have been better parents. Delete. Please give us a chance to explain ourselves. Delete. And finally, David's marriage is in jeopardy because of this situation. You're our daughter and we love you. I laugh out loud uncontrollably because this isn't even cynicism, it's comedy at its purest. Then I delete that message too. The messages continue to come over the next few days, and with each new notification on my screen, I feel less and less surprised and more irritated, because it's becoming obvious that they're not giving in, they're not paying attention, they're not listening. They're just persistently knocking on the door that I've closed and secured from the inside, and that I'm not going to open again. Mom, Dad, David, and then distant relatives whom I can barely remember. They all seem to have conspired and now, one after another, send me their messages, as if they hope that quantity will prevail over quality. Someone writes to evoke a feeling of guilt, reminding me of blood ties and the power of forgiveness. Someone, on the contrary, uses supposed pride and admiration as bait to push me to talk. Others appeal to the concept of family, as if this word in itself should make me forget everything that happened. There are even threats veiled, careful, but still inappropriate. But I do not answer a single message, because I have had enough. I am no longer obliged to be a participant in their theater. I block each new number as soon as it appears in the list of calls or notifications, not allowing them even close to my peace of mind. I change my phone number, give it only to people I really want to keep in touch with, make sure my address is off the radar, even in the most innocuous of databases, and feel like with each step my life is becoming quieter, safer, truly mine. A month later, I'm sitting in a restaurant with colleagues. It's our traditional post-project dinner, and the conversations flow freely, easily, without unnecessary tension. One of the new employees, a girl with an open face and a kind smile, suddenly asks, "Do you have any brothers or sisters?" I smile slightly and answer without thinking, "No, just me." "What about your parents?" she asks. "They don't play much of a role in my life anymore." I answer, my voice calm without a hint of disappointment or defensiveness. "Oh, I'm sorry, that must be difficult." "No, actually, it was the best decision of my life," I say calmly with a confidence that doesn't need to be proven. I don't miss them, I don't care what they do, I don't feel guilty about not talking to them, I just live my life. And that's the truth, the pure, uncompromising, liberating truth. 6 months later, I get promoted, new position, new tasks, expanded area of responsibility. Now I manage a team of developers, and my salary increases by another 30%. My boss says that I am one of the most talented programmers she has worked with in recent years, and I accept these words with gratitude, not hiding the fact that I am pleased to hear them. I celebrate my promotion by buying myself a new car, comfortable, reliable, with a soft suspension and built-in navigation, which I have long dreamed of, and book a 2-week vacation in Japan. It has been my dream since university to see Kyoto in the spring, walk the streets of Tokyo, try real ramen at the night market. I send my grandmother photos from the fair in Asakusa, with a view of the blooming gardens near the palace, and she answers me with a voice message full of joy and pride. "You are living your best life, dear." "Really, Grandma? I'm happier than I've ever been," I tell her, calling from a hotel room overlooking a neon sea. "This is all I ever wanted for you," she says. "I know, thank you for always supporting me." And in that moment I feel how far I've come from the girl who was once overlooked, and how right everything I've done is. When I return home rested, full of impressions, I'm greeted not only by the familiar scent of my garden, but also by an unexpected find in the mailbox, a letter. A thick envelope on which I immediately recognize my father's handwriting, angular, a little uncertain, as if he hadn't written by hand for a long time. Somehow he found my address. I stare at the envelope for a long time, trying to understand what I'm feeling, and in the end, finding nothing, I just throw it in the trash without tearing it, without opening it, without reading it. I don't need their explanations, their apologies, their late regrets. I don't need their inheritance, their approval, their fake love. I have my home, cozy and sunny. I have my career where I feel confident and calm. I have friends who know my story and accept me completely. I have my grandma, my light, my protection. I have a future, and it belongs only to me. I'm planning to expand the house next year. Maybe add a spacious office which I can partially turn into a home gym. I'm seriously considering getting a dog, one that will greet me at the door and sleep at my feet in the evenings. I'm thinking about taking an online philosophy course just for fun, not for a certificate. Not for a career, but simply because I want to. My life is full, happy and calm. I make my own decisions, I solve my own problems, and I no longer have to deal with other people's dramas, justify other people's mistakes, or fight for someone's attention. Sometimes, of course, I think, not often but still, about how everything would have turned out if my parents had behaved differently, if they had encouraged me in childhood, believed in me, were interested in my hobbies, were proud of my achievements. But then I understand, perhaps if they had done this, I would not have become who I am. I would not have learned to rely only on myself. I would not have become so strong, independent and purposeful. I would not have built such a life. I would not be myself. Write a comment what you think about this story, and do not forget to subscribe to the channel and put a like. See you soon.